So I just recently came across a movie on Hulu called Mike and Nick and Alice. Let's get into it. Admittedly, I had a fun time with this movie as it's in many ways a throwback action flick with time travel sprinkled in and older well-known actors thrown into the mix with a surprise couple of cameos that I got a kick out of. The story isn't anything to get excited about, but like Supernatural and other character driven stories, it's the dynamic of the characters that kept me along for the ride. Much like dinosaur movies, we have seen countless retellings of films and TV shows that have dealt with the complexities of time travel. You know, from how it works, what happens if you run into other versions of yourself, branching timelines, and thankfully, this film doesn't get into the nuances of time travel, but rather it remains focused on the characters and the simplistic story that it presents. Essentially, the movie boils down to future Nick coming back to the past for reasons that I won't spoil, of course, but in coming back, he has to deal with a version of himself that he despises, along with the company of Mike and Alice. As the story unfolds, we find out that there is more to the story than meets the eye, and these realizations add to the film's quirkiness while managing to maintain its charm. The movie does take a little bit to get going, however, but once future Nick enters the picture, it becomes a much more enjoyable film. You know, there's something about a group of characters that don't entirely trust each other, but are working together that I enjoy, and having seen countless iterations of this story play out, I'm glad to say that this one was a decent enough watch. While the dynamics between the central characters and the title all play their part well, there were a couple of characters that I found to be extremely annoying. Specifically, I'm referring to that of Jimmy Boy, who's played by Jimmy Tatro. This is the second time this year that I've seen Jimmy in a movie, the first being that of Scream 7. And this character of Jimmy Boy is played up for comedic effect, but in my opinion, it's done in a way that isn't entertaining or very funny. There was a way for this story to have been presented without his character having been in the film, and I think if you removed him from the plot and reworked it a bit, then perhaps, scenes with his character could have been replaced with characters that we were more invested in. The ending also played up to the notion that Hulu wants to make a sequel. Given the open ending and where we leave the characters, it's highly likely that this movie will indeed get a sequel. So, in the end, it's an average film that'll get the occasional laugh here and there. The story isn't anything to write about, but it has characters that are fun to see together on screen. And with that in mind, there are worse ways to spend a couple of hours, so why not give Mike and Nick and Alice a chance? Until next time, bye everyone.